496-5555. Jacksonville.
Second down, 13. At the 45 of Baltimore. Brunell back in the pocket. Has a bit of time now being chased. Plants throws. He's looking downfield. He's got a receiver. And it is caught. Jimmy Smith at the 5. Into the end zone. Touchdown, Jacksonville. Wayne starts for 45 yards.
Barks out for signals. Drops to throw. Has time. Fires the slant. Jimmy's got it this time. 35, 30. Middle of the field. 20. He's going to the 20-yard line. He's going to score. 10, 5. Jimmy Smith. Touchdown. And the Jaguars are right back in this ball game. Barks out the signals. Pressure coming. Steps up. Steps. Turns.
You know, I'm pulling for my team to get to the Super Bowl.
1010XL 92.5 FM presents Jaguars Today with your hosts Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, and Dylan Denmark.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome in. We are that much closer, 10 days out from the NFL Draft. Fresh week of Jaguars Today. Hope you took advantage of a gorgeous weekend on the First Coast. Mike Dempsey here with you, along with Tony Smith. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning.
Did you have any outdoor activities at all this weekend?
Not much, no.
No?
I mean, I walked around a little
Did you go to the mailbox?
Not even to the mailbox.
No?
Just walked around a little bit.
Spectacular.
Because it was nice. I was like,
unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, Saturday was beyond unbelievable, but nice and cool, sunny, gorgeous. Man, hope everybody took advantage of that on the First Coast. Dylan Denmark, I know you did on the golf course yesterday. Did your swing take advantage, or did you just enjoy the atmosphere?
Oh, I enjoyed the atmosphere. It was more of a couple good drives, couple good wedges, one good putt. One of those kind of days.
Yeah. A mixed bag for me too, man. I hit it well, but didn't score as well as I would have liked. But, it's all right. Had some fun, took it in. Spent some time with my wife, which is always nice for me. But we are ready to lock it down, Tony, and march and sprint, really, now at this point.
Yeah.
Towards the NFL Draft. We're going to have wall-to-wall coverage for you next week. Everything we do is going to be draft related. Today, there's going to certainly be some of that as well. No question about it. And one of the most interesting news stories of the weekend that could potentially impact the Jacksonville Jaguars was we found out that Derek Carr, the Saints' presumptive starting quarterback, has a shoulder injury, which all of a sudden, Tone, they're talking about his 2025 season is in jeopardy.
Mm-hmm.
So the Saints may be that much more desperate for a quarterback, which would be fine with us if they came knocking on the Jaguars' door at number 5 and said, hey, we'd like to jump up from 9 to make sure we secure the services of one Shedeur Sanders or, heck, for all we care, Jackson Dart. If you want to, at that point in time, there is a school of thought that, well, without Carr, Saints were not going to expect it to be very good. Maybe they'll kind of quietly tank the season. I don't know. I mean,
if you're playing Spencer Rattler based on what we saw from him
that would be tanking the season.
That would be tanking the season.
Right. They did not win a single game. Spencer Rattler started last year for them. Did not look good. I think they'd have interest in Shedeur Sanders either way, but would they take him at 9? I don't frankly know. None of us do. But that seems to be the most logical landing spot for Sanders for a lot of people. I think that's the betting favorite for him to go there, which could that open the door for the Saints knocking on the Jags' door to come up and get ahead of the Raiders. And you can say, the Raiders aren't taking him. They signed Geno Smith. Well, the Falcons weren't taking Michael Penix Jr. because they signed Kirk Cousins. And, so I don't think you can count on that being written in stone. I'm still seeing mocks where Sanders, by the way, is going to the New York Giants at 3. I don't think we know what the Giants are going to do. I think the sense is that they're not going to take Shedeur Sanders, but as Matt Miller wrote 2 weeks ago, Tony, that one of the scout told him the worst kept secret in the league right now is the Giants absolutely love Shedeur Sanders. So who really knows at this point?
Who knows, man? And given the fact that this is a draft where we've seen everyone that's been writing about it say that the first round could be nuts, right? Like there are going to be names in there that people are like, who's going to win? Why?
I didn't see him projected as a first rounder.
Right, like that kind of thing. So I do think from that perspective, do I think even with the news over the weekend that it's all that likely that the Saints feel like they got to get from 9 to 5 to do what they want to do at the quarterback position? I don't think it's all that much more likely than it was before that news broke on Carr, right? But it's not an impossibility. And today our question, we're just basically asking you to think about it, right? Like if they were in that kind of position,
Right.
what would you like to see happen there? But with the way that players in this draft have been I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints look at it and say, Sanders, Dart, so what? Either one of those guys we're happy with. We're not moving.
Or neither one of them is worth a top 10 pick, and we're not taking one there anyway.
Right.
I could see, but I could also see that maybe it doesn't change intrinsically what they were going to do, because they knew what their plans were anyway. They knew what they felt. But if they did, like, put it this way, if they liked Sanders and they thought they could quietly bide their time and sit there and wait because there was some mystery as to whether or not they would take him with, Derek Carr in place, and now with this news coming out, there has to at least be some thought on their point, like, well, now everybody, it's like a flashing red sign. Everyone knows you either got to stand pat if you're the Raiders or the Jets and just take him there, or you got to move in front of New Orleans. So could it prompt that to happen? I don't know. I think with you, it's probably more unlikely, but it does seem still like he is one of the couple of players that could induce someone to jump up the board.
Sure.
Right. And I do feel, and we discussed it at length last week, Sanders and Genty, probably the two that stand out right now. Matt Miller put out his top ranking of 602 prospects for the NFL draft. Tony, correct me if I'm wrong. There are less than 300 draft picks. So
there are.
Matt Miller's doing deep, deep work right now in ranking these guys 602 deep. But he's got Ashton Genty third overall. He's got, I think he had Hunter 1 and then Carter 2, but he's got those two in the top 2. Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, who at this point, it would be somewhat of a shock if either one was available at 5, right? Not completely impossible, but still somewhat of a surprise. He's got Mason Graham for what it's worth at 4. This is just one man's opinion. Matt Miller at ESPN, but he's been doing this for a while. I think he does a pretty thorough job on it. And again, it begs the question, if Ashton Genty's a top 5 player, why don't we talk about him going in the top 5? Mock drafts are starting to recognize that, I think, a little bit. And now in the last week, we've seen a couple of mocks that have Genty mocked directly to Jacksonville, and another couple, these are from prominent people, another couple that have someone trading up to 5 to get Genty ahead of the Raiders, which would also create an opportunity for the Jags. Gennaro Felice over at NFL.com, the latest one this weekend, to mock Genty directly to Jacksonville at 5. And he made the same point I just made. If he is truly a top 5 player, why aren't we talking about him going in the top 5? We think 6, oh, fine, that's fine. But 5, like, well, how could he go at 5? Well, why wouldn't he? I'm not saying he would or would not, but there are just as many reasons to mock him, I think, to Jacksonville as they are to the Raiders, except the depth chart here is a little bit better. Let's be fair, right? I mean, Zamir White and whatever else they have left. Mir Abdullah is still there, maybe, in Vegas. I'm not sure, but no clear lead back on that team. So, as Tony alluded to, if the Jags are able to move back to pick 9, and that specifically is a spot that we're looking at today with the New Orleans Saints Derek Carr situation. Although Diana Rossini, the Athletic Tone, tweeted out something about there are a lot of people around the league who think there's more to this Derek Carr story, ...
Right.
The hell? Give me the dots. I need to know what the dots mean.
Or some clue as to what that might mean.
Right. Is this like a power play by Carr? Like, what is that? What more to the story is there? What could it be? Carr asked for a trade this offseason. Would he do that knowing he couldn't play or suspecting he couldn't play? What would the point be of where you're not playing, right? And you're still going to collect your money. So I don't know what that has to do with, or maybe it's the timing of it. Maybe the Saints want it out there, and maybe it's not nearly as bad as it's being portrayed, and they want it out there to make people think that you absolutely have to take Sanders in the top 8, therefore pushing one more player that the Saints would be interested down to them. Who knows? But if the Jags are able to do that and drop back 4 spots in the draft, here are the players you have to assume are gone today. And it's right there. We tweeted it out. Travis Hunter gone. This is when you're picking at 9. 2 quarterbacks off the board because that's who the Saints are coming up for. So 2 quarterbacks. Hunter, Carter, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty are gone, and the top 2 offensive linemen, Will Campbell and Armand Membo. Those are probably the likeliest top 8 picks in that scenario.
Yeah.
Right? So, which of these options would you most want the Jags to settle for then at 9? You can have edge rusher Jalen Walker out of Georgia. You can have offensive lineman Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas, who, by the way, I think Matt Miller ranked 8th overall. At one time, Tone, he was kind of the guy. It was like, can Will Campbell overtake Kelvin Banks Jr., right, in a lot of this evaluation process? And now it's just become a Campbell-Membo conversation. Would it be tight end Tyler Warren? Would it be wide receiver Ted McMillan? Now, obviously, they could go in other directions, and if you feel strongly about that,
sure,
you don't have to vote for any of these options and just reply with, Jahdae Barron or Will Johnson or whoever you think they might be looking at 9. But that's the scenario today. Jags move back 4 spots. The usual suspects are off the board, including both of the top projected offensive linemen. Who would you prefer to settle for out of the 4 options that we gave you today? We got Jamal St. joining us from Channel 4 today, and I thought it was interesting. I saw him tweet out something to the effect of, what's a need on the Jags that you think is not being discussed enough or something? I know I saw a lot of responses to that were wide receiver. And I think that's absolutely right, Tony. I mean, and as somebody put it, we're one twisted ankle away from having one of the worst wide receiver groups in the league.
Yeah.
And we all know who that twisted ankle would have to happen to make that the case. But could you imagine a wide receiver core led by De'Ami Brown and Gabe Davis with Parker Washington contributing? Seriously.
Yeah, we've had those years here in Jacksonville.
We've had too many of them, right? And that's where we are right now. So this team does need offensive playmakers. Maybe and we all get, we need big guys. We need big guys. We need big guys. Well, we do. But you got to put points on the board as well. So we got a lot to get into today. And we'd welcome your calls. Anything Jaguar related, doesn't have to specifically be the NFL draft. It's 641-1010 will get you on board. Same number for the text line. Designed by Lifetime Enclosures. You can hop in the YouTube virtual studio, watch and listen to the program there, and participate in the chat. That way, post questions, whatever you like, or on social media. Answer today's poll question at MD_1010XL, at 1010XL Fat Tony, and at 1010XL Denmark.
Duval.
All right, Duval indeed. We're ready to roll. Talking Jags with you for the next couple of hours. Keep it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today for the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios. You love sports. You live for the action.
He did it again.
Experience the excitement of the moment on 1010XL.
Call 904-500-COOL. Ideal conditions.
Want to support a locally and veteran-owned company? If you need a new AC, we should be your first and only call. Ideal Conditions keeps you cool. Just ask your AC. Call 904-500-COOL or visit idealconditionsjax.com.
Call 904-500-COOL.
Honk if you see us. Call for service.
Ideal conditions.
idealconditionsjax.com.
Out with the old, in with the organized. Mia here for my friends at Closets by Design. Freshen up your home this spring with a custom organization solution. For a limited time, take advantage of our spring special and enjoy exclusive savings on closets, garages, home offices, and more. That's 40% off with an additional 50% off with 12-month special financing through April. Spring on this deal before it's gone. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation with Closets by Design.
Is your backyard ready for the big leagues? Pick it here for Surfside Pools. Serving Northeast Florida since 1977, they have the home field advantage. Family owned and operated, offering weekly pool service, equipment repairs, commercial maintenance, remodels, and new pool construction. Let Surfside Pools make your backyard dreams a reality. Are you ready to float happy? Visit surfsidepools.net or call 904-246-2666. Surfside Pools and Spas, your hometown MVP.
License number CPC 044080.
Jaguars Today.
You're settled into a Dream Finders Homes Monday.
Get a healthy start in 2025. The Florida Department of Health in Duval County is here to encourage you to get healthy and stay healthy this year. They have a dedicated team who are committed to providing quality care. The goal is to protect, promote, and improve the health of you and your family. Visit duval.floridahealth.gov to learn more about their health programs and services. That's duval.floridahealth.gov.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performance, Xerox copiers keep your team ahead of the competition. From printing to scanning, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Veteran owned.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, your favorite drafts are poured at a frosty 29 degrees, and rare barrel-aged whiskeys are served just the way you want them. It's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find a scratch kitchen that always comes in clutch every day from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
Stick around after the sun sets. Twin Peaks is open really late. Wind down with bourbon and late-night bites.
If fishing is in your DNA, hop in the boat with Captain Kevin. It's the Ring Power Fishing Forecast Show. Brought to you by Awaken 180 Weight Loss and Royal Pest Services.
Thursday nights at 6
on 1010XL AM.
I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you about my fogged up window fiasco at my house. I called up Mac at Baker Glass. He told me all I needed was a glass replacement. The process was so easy. All within a few days, they came out, measured, called me with an estimate, cut my glass, and came out to install the new ones. Now my view outside is fog-free thanks to Mac and his crew at Baker Glass. And my neighbors think I got some fancy new windows.
I'm Mac with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Homeowners, storms don't wait, so why should you? Universal Roof and Contracting protects your home and your wallet. Invest in a stronger roof and save big. Right now, get 15% off roof replacement and repairs. Financing's available with monthly payments as low as $115. So this deal ends April 30th. Call 855-ROOF-HELP for your free inspection. Universal Roof and Contracting. Protecting your home, building your trust. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
Hey gang, Prosser here, and it's always great when you can replace a problem with a promise. And let me get right down to it. When it comes to Chad and Sandy and selling your home, here's a promise that you can count on. Chad and Sandy guarantee your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. Now, more. Spring selling season is here. Rates are down. Activity's up. Now's the best time in years to sell your home. Some homes are sitting on the market, though, and hiring an expert who can maximize your equity and minimize hassle is the key. Those expert agents, and I'm recommending them to sell your home, Chad and Sandy Newman. There have been lots of you out there on the First Coast who are taking advantage. Take David and Heather in Fox Ridge. This is out in Orange Park. We wanted to move to Keystone Heights to get closer to family, away from the city. We heard Chad and Sandy on the radio and called. What you hear is true. We got multiple offers and sold in 3 days for $15,000 above asking price. Call the local experts I trust and recommend to sell my home and yours. Call Chad and Sandy, 414-6200, ChadAndSandy.com.
I'm Rick Julius, a partner at Cordell & Cordell. Divorce is more than just a legal process. It's a life-changing event that can impact your future, finances, and your relationship with your children. You've worked hard to build a life that you're proud of, and you deserve a legal partner who will work just as hard to protect it.
Offices in Jacksonville. Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's attorneys. Lisa Cargis, Florida resident partner. Rick Julius, licensed in Pennsylvania only. Online at CordellCordell.com.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
All right, Tone, got a lot of things to get into here, including I saw a 7-round mock draft. Just thought I'd go through it here quickly over at Pro Football Network coming up here in just a moment. But as I was clicking on there to make sure I had all the picks in front of me, I saw this story. Again, this Pro Football Network. This is where we do our weekly mocks. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just a good tool, a site. And anyway, it's the article is one free agent each team should sign now. Okay. All right, there's still guys hanging around out there. This first sentence, this first sentence, the first half of the first sentence under the Jags. By the way, they recommend John Jenkins, free agent defensive tackle. Okay?
Okay.
The first half of the first sentence, the Jacksonville Jaguars could use anyone on their team right now. I mean, that's it. Could use anyone on their team right now with so many spots to be filled, both offensively and defensively. Unfortunately for them, there are no top-level interior defensive linemen to fill their biggest need. I think they're talking about remaining in the free agent pool, right? Luckily, pairing Jenkins with Mason Graham in the draft would be a start to fixing it. Jenkins was a below-average run defender last year.
Boom.
But adds an improved dimension of pass rushing to a team that totaled just 25 hurries and 3 sacks between their 2 current starters at defensive tackle. So, okay, let's rush out. I mean, for one thing, and I get it, you're tasked with writing this article at a time when no one's really signing anybody and they're focusing on the draft coming up. So I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do, but hey, the Jags could use anything, so let's give them a below-average run defender, right? Because that's something that they don't have enough of on their team right now. Just quickly looking through, I don't know if did I get all these picks? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I got them all here. Actually, I might have missed one. I think I double copied one here. But in this mock, Jags go Mason Graham, first round. No great surprise there. Focused on the offensive line and free agency, added depth in the secondary. Now they're in a great position to strengthen the defensive line. Blah, blah, blah. He has all the tools to be an immediate contributor, Pro Bowl potential. Okay. Not again, and I don't mean to be dismissive of Mason Graham. You know, it's just like seen it all, heard it all. Not anything new at this point. If they take him, won't be surprised. Not saying it's bad. Just not going to get enthralled by that 10 days out. Second round, Ariante Ursary, the offensive tackle out of Minnesota. I feel like there's some different names in this mock, but if they hit these positions, you'd be like, okay, it seems like they know what they're doing here. So they go to a guy who, according to them, he's a behemoth of an offensive tackle with a nasty demeanor, capable of dominating edge rushers at the point of attack. Size-adjusted athleticism is also impressive, Tony.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's definitely draft time now.
He's a big guy that can move. Glad to
he has good athleticism. Not like Barry Sanders, but for...
Very athletic for someone that might weigh 340 pounds.
Right, whatever he goes, right? And once he gets his hands right, it's very tough for opposing defenders to disengage. All right, pick 70, Elijah Arroyo. Tight end out of Miami. I think the thing with Arroyo, what is your impression of him as what kind of a tight end he is?
More of a move guy.
That's what I think, too, right? But first sentence here, Elijah Arroyo is a reliable run blocker.
Okay.
All right. Who brings ideal effort in the trenches. That's good and tangibly rich. That's the part of the game we need some focus on. If you're going to draft the tight end, he has better deep speed than most, helping him stretch the field vertically. Okay? That's fine. I mean, if they feel like they're going to utilize that in the passing game. If you're just going to get in another grunt guy who can not tip your hand if it's run pass, you know, we've got a bunch of guys that can block, apparently. Anyway, moving on. Pick 88, Quincy Riley, a corner out of Louisville. Fluid, technically sound, ideal ball skills, sharp instincts, blah, 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 blah. Ashton Gillette, another Louisville guy. I really like this pick in the 4th round. Devin Neal, running back out of Kansas. Pat Bryant, wide receiver at Illinois. They take safety, Katan Crawford. I know they took another defensive tackle late. That's the one I skipped. And then Dylan's guy, Willie Lampkin, the guard out of Coastal Carolina, weighs like 270, right? Isn't he 275, something like that? He's on the small side. So anyway, just another mock for you to sink your teeth into with 10 days to go before we never reference these mocks again. One guy whose name continued to come up in mock drafts for the Jags, Tone, and it probably because not everybody keeps up with every bit of news moment to moment and what happens in the offseason. You just look at the numbers and you go, oh, why shouldn't we be interested in this guy? And one of those guys is now the late Kyron Lacey, the LSU wide receiver who was facing a potential charge of negligent homicide along with some other stuff. That
I think felony, hit and run, reckless operation of a vehicle, something like that.
Going to grand jury today.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I wonder how does that happen now? If that guy does it still go through with it to prove who is responsible? I really don't know.
Yeah.
But he had been charged with all these things. It could be spending years and years in jail. Might not have an NFL future ahead of him. And word came out this weekend that he apparently took his life. Right? There weren't any details on it. He died. Circumstances led them to believe it was an apparent suicide. And you thought, well, at least my reaction was, this guy knows he's probably going to prison. He's blown his chance at an NFL career. He can't deal with that reality, and things are about to get real on Monday, right? Oh, I read this morning that apparently he had something was going on with him and his girlfriend, and authorities were called because he fired a gun allegedly, into the ground, hey, I don't know. I can just imagine. We can all imagine what that would be like. Hey, I'm the man with the gun here. You better watch what you say. I don't know. So anyway, he gets in his car and takes off, and the police had been called, and the police pursue him. They locate him. They pursue him and chase him yesterday. And this is a guy, by the way, who's been charged with all these other things due to a situation where he's racing, going the wrong way because he's passing on a 2-lane or a double yellow, and he's in the oncoming traffic, caused an accident that resulted in the loss of life. So according to what I read this morning, the pursuit ended when he crashed his car. The police were chasing him yesterday. He crashed his car, and then when they got up to check on him in the vehicle, they discovered he had shot himself, basically. So, I mean, there's so many, did he think it was over? Was what? You're never going to know what was in his mind, but what was it always his intent? I'm going out. I'm not going to prison. I'm just not going to face this. Or was it man, what have I gotten myself into now that he escalated it? I'm going to go, this is definitely going to put me in prison and I won't be able to get out on bail. I don't know, but it's a sad thing anytime anyone takes their life.
Yeah.
But, he's 24 years old. This is not a 16-year-old kid.
No.
You've got to be smarter. We talk about, it's not a big deal at Georgia when they're racing on the street. Well, this can be the end result of that. And your whole life, he's probably looking at man, everyone's talking about, I'm going to have this NFL money. I'm not going to have anything. I'm going to prison for however long, It's just a kind of a shocking way this whole story came to a conclusion.
Yeah, it is shocking. Certainly for everything that's happened in his life here in the last 6 months with where he had to have been in his head before that, right? And to get into a situation where this weekend he's in the middle of all that, right? It's already felt like it's all closing in on him anyway. I saw some that said he was ranked as high as the 5th or 6th wide receiver in this whole draft.
Right. I saw this speculation a couple months ago, could have stuck into the first round this year.
Yeah. It's insanely sad that someone that has everything going for him that it felt like he did, right? And for the athletic ability he has, he's turned that into the potential beginning of an NFL career, and who knows where that's going to wind up. Then you have whatever happened on the road that night.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ran away from that, right? He fled the scene of that because he couldn't deal with it in the moment, obviously. And now he's facing the charges on all of that. That's all piling on top of him. He was supposed to be in there for a court date today, or at least the evidence was going to be
grand
presented
jury
today.
Proceedings.
Yeah, today on all that. And had whatever happened this weekend with the girlfriend, the gun, the cops chasing, all those things all happened as well. And sadly, it sounds like it ended with him putting an end to it. There's no happy way to tell that story. It's tragic that it all happened the way that it did for him and for everyone else that's going to be touched by this. People died. Someone died on that road that night, and that's why he's having the grand jury happen today. He's responsible.
Right.
That's basically what
or
the
at
law's
least
saying.
he's thought to be responsible.
Right. Like
hasn't been proven, but
it's an awful, awful situation. There's no happiness anywhere to be found in the whole thing.
And I mean,
it is sad.
It's always innocent until proven guilty. And I get that, but the court of public opinion doesn't have to abide by that standard. And from what was laid out, it seems pretty clear that he was responsible for somebody losing their life that night.
Yeah.
And
you don't know. Like, I can remember the situation with Ruggs, right? And that was a DUI accident. And they knew it when they got there. They knew he was still there. He's here. He's drunk. He caused the accident. I don't know if any of that kind of stuff was involved with Lacey, and no one ever can because he ran.
Right.
Like, we just don't know if any of that kind of was involved in that situation as well. We just don't have answers to any of those kind of things. But whatever the story is with Kyron Lacey, at least from that side of it perspective, it's done. Right? Like he ended it yesterday, and now his family has to pick up the pieces, and his friends have to pick up the pieces and try to move on.
Brian Thomas Jr. is close with him,
Has to know him at least.
Certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, played in the same room, the wide receiver room at LSU. So anyway, the best for his family and the victims, by the way, of his previous acts as well. Just because you decide to take yourself, and his attorney for his part said, "Hey, look, this was never going to get charged." Well, I don't know that that's the case, and I don't know what else attorneys say before you go into these proceedings. But definitely a shocking story coming out this weekend. We'll turn the page from that. We'll welcome in Jamal St. and we'll bring it back to the focus on the Jacksonville Jaguars with 10 days to go. What kind of work needs to get done in Jamal's eyes, and have they done enough to set themselves up for success in this 2025 NFL Draft? Talking Jags with you. This is Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
1010XL is here. 1010 AM. 1010XL is there. 92.5 FM. 1010XL is everywhere. 1010XL is where you want to be. Jaguars Today from the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL.
When you need a mechanic you can trust, call Sam, Harry, or Joe at AA Automotive on Richard Street. From oil changes to complex engine repairs, AA Automotive promises expert service and honest pricing from a local family biz. AA Automotive on Richard Street.
As a Florida homeowner, you're no stranger to mosquito problems. And although it's tempting to use DIY methods to get rid of them, mosquitoes are relentless. That's why it's important to enlist the help of the mosquito experts at Florida Pest Control. At Florida Pest Control, we offer specialized treatment solutions that are effective against mosquito infestations and are committed to keeping our customers protected year-round. For your free quote, give us a call or visit flapest.com today. Florida Pest Control, your local mosquito control experts.
Jeff Prosser here for Lloyd's Heating and Air. Need a leader for commercial, retail, multifamily, or hospitality projects? Or top-tier residential service? No gimmicks, no mascots, just real expertise and hard work. As your trusted statewide mechanical partner and local family-owned team, Lloyd's is the name Northeast Florida counts on. Visit LloydsHeatingandAir.com. Lloyd's Heating and Air, keeping you comfortable in every season.
Dreamfinders Homes Monday.
Jaguars Today.
Interest rates have plummeted. It's time to call Loan Pronto. Hey, Prosser here, and if you're looking to get cash out of your home equity, refinance out of a high rate, or do a home improvement project, Loan Pronto can make it happen in a matter of just days. Take advantage of this opportunity and get tens or even hundreds of thousands out of your home equity. Pay off all your credit cards. Pay off your car loan. The average homeowner cuts their monthly bills by $1,000. Get more info at loanpronto.com. Inflation and higher costs have put a lot of people in a stressful financial situation. But if you own a home, there's a way out. Loan Pronto has multiple options that can help you get the financial freedom you deserve. Most homeowners get their cash in less than 2 weeks, and most don't even need an appraisal. Do the smart thing. Stop paying insane rates on those credit cards. Wipe them all out. Get a lower mortgage rate. Get some money for that home improvement project. Do it all by going to loanpronto.com or call 904-999-1508. That's loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Have you or someone you care about been arrested or had their driver's license taken away? I'm Susan Cohen, and I work with David Robbins at the law firm of Epstein & Robbins. We are experienced fighters for those charged with DUI and all criminal offenses. I've been named the best DUI attorney in the state, and David has been named the best criminal defense lawyer in Jacksonville. In your battle with the justice system, there is only one thing you need to know. Dial David 24/7 at Epstein & Robbins, 354-5645.
The time to buy an emergency generator is before you need it, not when you're sitting in the dark. Storms happen in a hurry in Florida, so be prepared. Protect your family and property with American Electrical Contracting. Call them today, 737-7770.
I'm Max Fink, and I'll bring you the Gator Report several times weekly to keep you connected to Gainesville.
The Gator Report, put together by San Jose Collision on the home of the Florida Gators, 1010XL.
Hey, it's Matt Hayes. There was a time when if you handed me a bread basket at a restaurant, you better watch your fingers. Pizza, pasta, bread, carbs were absolutely my weakness. I'd be lying if I said they didn't have me hooked. Then Awaken 180 came into my life. I've been down every diet road there is, but this is different. It's not just another diet. It's a total reset of how you see food. You know that carb craving that we all accepted as normal? That's gone for me now. Don't get me wrong. I still enjoy the good stuff, but here's the difference. I no longer feel like I need them. So when the server puts that bread basket on the table, I just smile, sit back, and say, nah, I'm good. That feeling of control is all thanks to Awaken 180. I lost 40 pounds in 9 weeks on Awaken 180. Hacker lost more than 110. Baloo is on his way, and you can lose whatever you want to lose. It doesn't matter what your goal weight is. Awaken 180 weight loss will get you there quickly and safely. It's a clear path to success without disappointment. Awaken 180 has changed my life, and it will change yours too. Give them a call at 844-346-1800 or go to awaken180weightloss.com. Trust me, you'll thank yourself.
1010XL's draft previews are brought to you by Hurricane Grill and Wings.
Mason Graham from Michigan has been a player many have connected to Jacksonville in this year's draft. Graham provides activity, effort, strength, and quickness, with the first step that makes the defensive tackle's interior disruption inevitable. And although he doesn't have the freakish size, length, or athleticism that others might offer, he is tough, consistent, and productive. And that's what the Teal and Black need inside.
Rebound Rehabilitation. 11 great locations across the First Coast, and they're just a click away when it comes to feeling strong and healthy again. If you need the best path to recovery, look no further than Rebound Rehab. Log on and check out one of their great 11 locations.
Hi, I'm Jeff Breyer, president of Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring.
And I'm Zach Breyer. When my dad started in business in 1990, I wasn't even born yet.
That's true, and after 35 years and nearly 20,000 satisfied customers, we literally have a showroom in every neighborhood.
So whether you need more outdoor living space with a glass or screen enclosure, or you're looking to transform your home with new flooring, we've got you covered.
Visit our websites, or better yet, do yourself a favor and stop by one of our showrooms on Phillips Highway to experience the Lifetime difference and receive 20% off your purchase.
New and pre-owned firearms are always in stock at Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach. Want a new sidearm or rifle? Brands like Kimbar, Smith & Wesson, Sig Sauer, and Beretta. No lines, no hassle. Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, more Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Just had a coughing spasm there, Tony. Be prepared to take over at a moment's notice.
They happen.
They do happen from time to time for no discernible reason. I'm sure there is a medical reason behind it. But what was that, Hack?
Frog in my throat. Excuse me.
Frog in the throat. Excuse me.
Excuse me. Pardon me. Yes. Thank you very much. That's maybe what happened. All right. Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith. Time to talk little Jaguars with our friend Jamal St. from Channel 4 here locally, who is down at the owners' meetings recently and obviously keeps a keen eye on all things Jacksonville Jaguar related. Jamal, good morning. How are you, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing, guys?
We're hanging in there. You know, I love the draft. I love the process. I love the lead up, but also kind of you get to this point and you're like, all right, let's get here, right? We got a week and a half to go. I don't know how many other storylines we can mine here in this period of time, but I did find something interesting this weekend that made me want to have you on today. And I saw you tweeted out asking people basically maybe an under-discussed need for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I didn't see every reply that you got to that, but I noticed quite a few people pointing out wide receiver or just offensive playmaker in general. And somebody made the point that, hey, we're basically a Brian Thomas twisted ankle away from having a bottom of the league group in that category. Is this a need that has been discussed enough for the Jacksonville Jaguars, in your opinion?
No, I honestly don't think it is. I mean, that was why early on I kind of wanted to be a buyer on Tet McMillan at 5, is really just because if you look at that wide receiver room or the pass catcher room, however you want to describe it, they have to improve. Right now they got Brian Thomas Jr., and then the question is, and then what?
Right.
I know the coaching staff and them kind of believe in Diami Brown, and sure, he could have a good year for you, but he's only on a 1-year contract. So you could look up this time next year and he'd be gone. Yet nobody has any idea what they're going to get from Gabe Davis. Let's be serious there. Parker Washington going into another year, you've seen some flashes that he could step forward, but how confident are you that if BT gets hurt that he's going to be the guy to step up and really carry that load? They have to add to that room. There's honestly no way around it. I mean, they might need to double dip on wide receiver over the course of the draft just when you look at the construction of the wide receiver room, period. So I think they've got to add that. And as they keep talking about how this thing is, contingent on Trevor Lawrence. Liam Cohen's made no bones about it. Trevor's talked about how they're trying to take some of the weight off of his shoulders. Well, you can't take the weight off his shoulders if he doesn't have guys that can make plays with the ball in their hands. So they've got to do something, and they've got to add there, and they got to figure out who those guys are. Problem is you only have a limited number of draft picks to do that.
What should the Jaguars expect out of Gabe Davis this year?
That's tough to know, honestly. It's tough to get worse than what you got from him last year, right? Last year he was just never healthy. He was never right from the second he got to Jacksonville. He was dealing with this thing. They had him limited. He was healthy enough, kind of gutted through it, but he never was the guy that was there in Buffalo. So the injury that finally sidelined him, while bad because he didn't finish the season, but also good in a way because it gave him plenty of time to get healthy. So the question is, what does a healthy Gabe Davis at this point in his career ultimately look like? And that's the thing, is they're going to have to find that out here soon. If they can get him on the fringe of what he looked like in Buffalo, then you're in pretty good shape. If you can get 700-800 yards a season from him and a pretty consistent playmaker, then you're all right. But there's no way they can feel confident right now that that's what they're getting ready to get. You just can't.
No, and, with that, I think so much of the focus is on making Trevor Lawrence have an environment where he can succeed, and that includes a lot of things, the offensive line, running game, and all that. But for himself, Jamal, we heard Liam Cohen last week say he's going to be on a little bit of a pitch count. Is that any kind of concern for you that we're this far removed from the end of the regular season and an injury to the non-throwing shoulder is at least making them be cautious at this stage of the offseason?
Not really, because overall right now he needs to learn the offense inside and out, and I think that's the biggest thing. And when he was talking last week when the program started, I guess the big thing Liam Cohen's kind of talked about a couple of times is he was helping Trevor kind of change his footwork a little bit. So we asked Trevor about the footwork thing, and he kind of goes on this tangent about how this offense is different than all the other offenses he's played in, and how it's really quarterback friendly, and it makes his life so much easier. So that triggered in me. I was just sitting there listening to him, and I'm like, wow, we didn't even ask you if you liked the offense, and you just went down this path on your road. This is great. He actually likes this offense. So I kind of just followed up. So it sounds like you like the offense, and he lit up, loves the offense. So I think right now the biggest thing, this is a new offense. It's a different offense. It's an offense he seems like he likes. But by the time when they get out on the grass for real, when he is full tilt, they're the quarterback. He's got to know this thing inside and out. And since it is different from what he's doing, and this gives him a little bit more time to work on some of the footwork that he has to tweak. So I don't see it as necessarily a bad thing right now. He's throwing on his own. So it's not that he's just completely not throwing with his guys right now. They're just kind of trying to limit him and make sure they save that shoulder and don't push him too far.
Is the offensive line with the 4 players that they signed in free agency improved enough to compete for the AFC South if they didn't add another starter in the draft?
I think it's better than it was last year. Look, I think last year Mitch Morris was fine. I think Hainsey's probably going to give you about what you got from Mitch, and I expect that they'll add at least one more offensive lineman over the course of the draft. I think Brandon Sheriff was he was on his last leg, so I think replacing him was a good step. I think you got guys healthy at this point. So The conversation is, what do you do at 5, right? Is it an offensive lineman right there, or at some point in the draft that's going to be able to compete? They've added some big bodies. I think there's going to be a lot of competition on that offensive line. I think there'll be a better run-blocking group just with the 5 they have right now than they were just a year ago. But, I mean, yet to see if it's going to be good enough to really compete for the South. I mean, there's a lot of other things on the roster they're going to have to improve if they're going to be in that position where they're ready to really compete for the division.
You know, Jamal, you're a veteran of these things. You know, sometimes you can't say certain things at a press conference if you're the head coach. Like, you know, last week, Liam Cohen asked about Devin Lloyd and the 5th-year option and talked about needing to get to know him better and all this stuff. They didn't need any more time to get to know Trayvon Walker better. I just think he didn't want to come out and just say definitively that this is how we feel about Devin Lloyd at the moment. Do we have any sense of how they feel about the incumbent starters on the offensive line? Walker Little, Anton Harrison, Ezra Cleveland. I don't, you know, we can all sit there and go, well, they've got these guys. They could play today. Yes, they could. But what is your sense of how they feel about those 3 players?
I mean, that's what's tough. Honestly, that's what's tough to get a vibe for. I mean, here's one thing that I think has been brought up a couple of times at this point. Ezra was in Minnesota where they kind of shipped him off. That's where Udinski came from. So they didn't necessarily love how he fit in the system there. So that could play into it. So I think it's going to be tough to really get a sense on how they feel from some of these guys. I mean, I think we were on here one time talking Dempsey, and you brought up Jalen Walker and how, you know, you didn't see the difference between him and Abdul Carter, and, you know, where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's enough smoke around the Jaguars and him that, and I kept thinking, I mean, that's an indictment of how they feel about the linebacker room, how they feel about Devin Lloyd, because if he's standing up, that's whose spot he's taking when he's on the field as a stand-up backer. So, I think there's nobody on this roster safe. Nobody on this roster safe except for maybe some of the new guys that they just brought in, right, and Trevor.
Right.
Outside of that, everybody else has proven themselves. That's what happens when you got a new GM, entirely new coaching staff. They don't know these guys, so they're going to be feeling it out and really getting to know some of these guys day one. I'm sure they have some impressions on some of them. Like we talked about, you know, Anton Harrison, how important maybe he is for the future of this team and building forward. But overall, his play has been hit and miss when he's been healthy and out there on the field. So they might look at it and say, well, we didn't pick this guy in the first round. He's replaceable because he's not consistent enough. So I think there's going to be a lot of questions. There's a lot to earn for these guys when they get out on the field for training camp and those pads go on, because that's when jobs are going to be made or broken, you know?
Ashton Jeanty is a bit of a different animal at the running back position than the other 29, supposedly, that could be draftable this year, running back in the draft. But if the Jags beyond Jeanty, what kind of running back would you expect them to look to add in the draft if they add one?
Oh, man, this is a great running back class. The reason why I'm not crazy on, like, going Jeanty at 5 or even Mason Graham is because there are so many defensive tackles and running backs in this year's class that you can grab that'll be able to be difference makers for you. I mean, like, there's a late guy, Kyle Monungai from Rutgers. I love watching him run the football. He is fantastic out there. Just physical guy. I think he'd be great. I know there's been a lot of smoke around R.J. Harvey to come to the Jaguars possibly. I mean, there's a handful of running backs in this year's class that I think they could grab and really be able to make an impact. I mean, Caleb Johnson's another one, big running back, physical downhill runner. And even if you want to stay in the state of Florida, Damian Martinez, that he is a load running the football, and he just continued to get better during his year at Miami. So I think they have plenty of options. If they don't want to go Jeanty at 5 and they still want to try and find a running back in this year's draft, they will not have a problem finding a guy who can come in and compete for a job and give them some production.
All right, Jamal St. Cyr, Channel 4 here with us for a few more minutes on Jaguars Today. Jamal, let's run this scenario. Cam Ward goes to the Titans, and then in whatever order, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, and Mason Graham are the next 3 players off the board. Give me your 3-player wish list in that scenario for Jacksonville at 5.
And that's almost nightmare fuel, ain't it?
Kind of, right? But at the same time, like, I wonder why this isn't suggested more. If Mason Graham is this universal top 4 or 5 prospect, Why does he always make it to us? Why doesn't someone in the top 4 take him more frequently? But you go ahead. Tell us what your wish list would be in that scenario.
At that point, I think you're looking at Will Campbell. I think you're looking at Armand Mimbu. I think you have to at least consider Tet McMillan at that point. I'm sure they'd think about Ashton Genty and maybe a dark horse, just a guy I think they're going to love and has a chance to be the first corner drafted, Jahdae Barron out of Texas.
Okay.
I think he'd be a dark horse candidate because I think if they talk to this dude, they'll love him.
Do they need to add a tight end at some point in this draft?
It seems like they believe in Brenton Strange. I think a tight end in maybe day 3 at some point, a guy who can come in and compete with Johnny Munt and Kyle Long for that tight end 2, tight end 3 spot would be worth it, a developmental kind of guy. I'd be surprised if they said, oh, let's go Tyler Warren early or even try and go for Loveland. That would be a shocker for me, and I don't know that there's a ton of spots where I'd just be absolutely shocked if they did it. But if they tried to get one of those guys in round 1 for Warren or maybe even round 2 for Loveland, I'd be absolutely floored. I think they'll add a tight end, but maybe not early.
Yeah, it's interesting because, look, I can get the argument that Tyler Warren fits the kind of tight end you want, right? You want the two-way guy who doesn't tip your hand, could be pass, could be run, excels in both, and he's going to upgrade your pass-catching chops at that position significantly if you feel that way over Brenton Strange, Jamal, but then they'd have to utilize him like that, right? And Cade Otton had a 2 or 3 game stretch last year where he was utilized heavily, but that was only because both Chris Godwin and Mike Evans were unavailable. It wasn't really a featured part of the Liam Cohen offense, so I'm kind of with you. If they told me that, no, this guy is special as a pass catcher and he's going to be your number 2 target behind Brian Thomas Jr., I'd say, okay, I'll trust you on that. But it doesn't seem like that's how he wants to build his offense.
No, even if you look at the McVay offense, which Liam's is going to be a variation of that. They've never been heavy tight end users. So they're not going to design it around that guy. I think Brenton Strange is the type of tight end they want, a guy who's going to come in, can line up in line, give you some dirty work blocking, and still be an option to go out and catch a pass here or there. I don't expect Brenton Strange to look up and have those Evan Ingram 1,000-yard season kind of numbers. 500-600 yards at the end of the season. I think they're patting Brenton on the back and say you did a great job. So I think that's the kind of tight end they want. I think they brought in Johnny Munt and Kyle Long because they're prioritizing a guy who can block in line and kind of release out and almost be forgotten about more than a guy who's going to go out there and run routes like a wide receiver at tight end. So that's why I'd be shocked if they went after a Loveland or a Warren on day 1 or day 2 of this draft. I could see them waiting late. And maybe if a guy like Gunnar Helm fell from Texas or something crazy, you go for a guy like that, but just a developmental guy on day 3.
You've mentioned the depth at defensive tackle in this year's draft, but even with that being said, why do you think Mason Graham would be the right pick at 5 if they go that way?
I wouldn't hate it. I think Mason Graham is a really good football player, and I think he plugs a hole. When we look at Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker, and you go back and watch what they did last season, there was no interior pass rush presence at all from the Jaguars D-line. I think Mason Graham instantly adds some juice to that realm. I think he's a good run defender, and we've seen the Jaguars D-line get gashed up the middle in run defense for years. So I think that's where Mason immediately helps this roster. I think it's a really good defensive tackle class. I think there's some other guys that could help as well in a couple of different ways. So I wouldn't love it. I'm not the biggest on board for it, but I don't hate it because I do think Mason Graham is a really good player. But I just think that there's a way that the Jaguars need. A perfect world, I think they trade back.
Yeah.
But I just don't think there's going to be a lot of options to maybe move back.
Right. Well, we're hoping in today's question we're asking if the Saints specifically come up from 9, with the news on Derek Carr maybe missing the season. They want to ensure they get Shedeur Sanders. Based on what you said, today's poll question, I think I know which way you'd lean. But at 9, if the usual suspects, including the top 2 offensive linemen, are off the board, do you like Jalen Walker, Kelvin Banks, Tyler Warren, or Tet McMillan at that pick?
If I'm saying what I think they'll do, I think they'll take Jalen Walker.
Okay. You would take Tet McMillan, though, it sounds like.
I'd take Tet McMillan. Okay. I think they'd take Jalen Walker. We had Adam Schefter hop on Channel 4 with us last week, and he said that there's a lot of smoke around Mason Graham and Jalen Walker, and that's where the directions he thinks they'll go, one of the two of those. And when Schefter says it, you almost write it in pen.
All right.
So there you go with that. But I think they have to add to that wide receiver room. If it's not round 1, I think they got to do it on round 2 and find a guy who can contribute just in case, because injuries happen. And, a hamstring pull that puts BT on the sideline for a couple of weeks, and then the wide receiver room's looking at each other like, what do we do now?
You can find Jamal St. of course, as a sports anchor for Channel 4 here locally and on social media, on Twitter at J St. Cyr TV. That's JSTCYR TV. And Jamal, we always enjoy the conversations, and hopefully we can impose upon you for another 10 minutes at some point next week before the draft kicks off to get some final thoughts. But thanks for taking some time out this morning.
For sure. Anytime. Count me in next week, guys.
All right, buddy. We appreciate you. Jamal St. Cyr. He's a Tet McMillan man, Tony, under the right circumstances, right? Yeah. I mean, but he does think in that scenario that it would be more likely that they would go Jalen Walker, although that's not really what the question is. The question is, who would you want them to take? Sounds like he'd like them to take Tet McMillan, which is definitely reasonable when you look at that depth chart. And depending on their evaluation of Tet McMillan, obviously. Who knows? Right. Maybe he's not the number 1 receiver on their board, for all we know. But
nope, no way to tell.
I think Matt Miller had him ranked 22nd overall in his big board. As a matter of fact, we'll dig into some of the prospects on his ranking there, see what stands out to us when we return. Tony will also take us around the league. Thanks again to Jamal St. Cyr from Channel 4 for adding to the conversation today. You're listening to Jaguars Today on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. The best in the business. I say so, yes, but I'm a little bit biased because my house looks so wonderful. It's more energy efficient since going with Pella, but Consumer Reports, they are unbiased, and they tell you that Pella is ranked number 1 in all the major window categories, and right now it's a great time to upgrade your home. 0% financing for 60 months, 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Get a free consultation scheduled at PellaJacks.com or swing by their showroom on Phillips Highway. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Jaguar football starts here.
Hey, we got a good win today, man. All I want to hear is
1010XL.
Transmission troubles? I'm Robin Sidbury, owner of Action Transmission Specialist on Merrill Road. So come in and see how we can help solve your transmission troubles. We service all makes and models. Remember, get traction. Call Action at 744-0755.
DUI? BUI? Don't stress. Call me Malcolm Anthony at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW for Malcolm Anthony.
E.T. here, and it's time for the Taste of Golf at TPC Sawgrass, April 23rd. Join me for fine cuisine from chefs from the top golf clubs in our area. Craft cocktails, games, and unique auction items will be present. This is one of the most impactful charitable events in our area. Come network with a sophisticated audience who's passionate about golf and its values, while impacting the youth in our community. All proceeds benefit First Tee, North Florida. For tickets, go to tasteofgolf.com. Come on, somebody.
It's a Dreamfinders Homes Monday.
Official home builder of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ow! Sweetie, come here. Don't worry. I see a lot of patients with the exact same thing.
Ever since the ice skating rink went in next door?
Or is it more than
Dr. Clark's business is heating up.
So many patients need my help. How will I find time to see all of them?
They need to hire a scheduler, stat.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging? Spring is here, a time to renew. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, here to help you look and feel your best with minimal to no downtime. Rejuvenate your skin, strengthen your core, and sculpt your body with advanced face and body treatments designed to restore your youthful glow and confidence. Just in time for spring and summer. A healthier, more fit you starts now. Visit dermagnify.com and step into spring looking and feeling your best.
Jaguars Today for the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Bueller. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey man, what's that noise?
Do you hear it too? You can hear it, right?
Yeah, it's your air conditioner. It's like a grinding or a rattling.
And it's getting on your nerves, right? Like it's eating at your brain and you can't think straight? But it just keeps grinding and squeaking and taunting and nagging. You're not good enough. You're a failure. Why can't you be more like your sister, the lawyer?
Yeah, I don't hear that last part so much.
Yeah, but it's not cool, right, Jason?
It could definitely be cooler. At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we can totally repair whatever that noise is and get your AC working smoothly and silently. We fix these things all the time.
So I won't be a failure?
Life should be enjoyed. If some irritating, broken air conditioner is making you crazy, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Frank Frangie here for Stanley Pools. If you're dreaming of putting in a pool this year, choosing the right company is the most important decision you'll make. I've trusted Stanley Pools to build my pool, renovate my pool, and maintain my pool. Stanley Pools has been the best in the business since 1988, and they're still family owned. Call them today at 904-269-7277 or find them online at stanleypoolsfl.com. That's Stanley Pools, a family tradition of fine swimming pools.
This is Molly McDonald with your 10XL local sports update brought to you by Clay Solar Installation Partners. The Florida Gators baseball team secured their first SEC Series win of the season against Missouri this past weekend, shutting them out in their first game on Saturday, winning 5-0, then posting a 3-2 walk-off victory in the second game to secure the sweep. Freshman pitcher Aiden Keene was dominating in the first game, earning the win behind 5 2/3 shutout innings. Coach Kevin O'Sullivan postgame on Aiden's performance.
I thought he was really good. He pitched to both sides of the plate. You know, his slider looked a little bit tighter today. Did some really quality changeups and just attacked. You know, I think he was a little disappointed that I took him out. But, you know, I think at that part of the game he had done his job. And if we're starting to establish roles and if we're going to use Jake at the end, then, you know, obviously that was the opportunity for him to, you know, to do his job.
It's 75 degrees at 11:01. Time in temp brought to you by Bueller Air and Plumbing. Stay cooler with Bueller.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Everything you need to know about the Jags. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Hey, OTA's coming up when, Tone? Fairly soon, right? Well, OTAs. We got any extra credentials to that, Dylan? Laying around. We don't give those out, do we?
Wait, they're not free?
Do we give those out to the general public?
I thought we sold them for $1,000 a piece. That's how we made money around
is that
here.
Right? Well, I told you I got offered $1,000 cash right there in hand. at a time when I don't know if I had $1,000 cash in my hand for my Super Bowl 39 credential and that had my face on it. Like, I don't know what you're going to do with it, buddy. But no, I thought if I ever want to make it in this business, probably shouldn't sell my first Super Bowl credential and get on the NFL's no-fly list, kind of, so to speak. All right, just checking on that. I didn't know what our official policy on that was, but you're telling me we don't just give those credentials out, is what you're telling me. All right, good to know. There's been some confusion about that, apparently, in the background. Why don't we do this, Tone, as we reset for hour number 2. Tony Smith, right now, gives us a look at what's happening with the other 31 NFL teams.
Now, Gems Around the NFL, brought to you by Beach's Jewelry and Pawn in Jax Beach.
The biggest news of the weekend occurred on Friday afternoon with Ian Rappaport reporting that New Orleans quarterback Derek Carr is dealing with a shoulder injury that could threaten his availability for the upcoming season. He is considering surgery among his options for how to deal with the injury, but nothing official out there on that yet. Aiden Hutchinson told Marty Smith at the Masters that he expects to be completely cleared and done with his rehab when he returns to Detroit after being at the Masters this weekend. And Dallas quarterback Dak Prescott said on Saturday at the 35th Annual Children's Cancer Fund Gala that he is at a point in his rehab from the season-ending hamstring injury that he suffered, that if he had to play today, that he would be able to. And Michigan corner Will Campbell is doing his workout for NFL teams today. I saw it reported this morning that when he's doing that workout, he'll do everything but the 40. For teams that are there.
I don't care what he runs in the 40.
Yeah, so.
You know, I heard Freddie T talk about it this morning. Like, why don't we have a 40 time on Ashton Genty? Seriously. Like, why don't we? You know, we just assume pop in the film. All right, what are you afraid of there? Ashton? Like, everyone else does it. You know what I mean? I like, if you can get away with not doing certain things, that's your prerogative, and you don't have to, but it does make you wonder, I wonder, you know, look, he's a football player. I don't know what more the tape could show you.
Right.
He's an explosive breakaway running back, but I'd be curious to know what that 40 time is.
Sure.
Anyway, here are a few, just cleaning up a few here on the text line. Designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Picking a wide receiver at 5 because they think that their Pro Bowler will get hurt is ridiculous. Nobody said that that's the reason alone to take a wide receiver at 5, but to put it into context, if Brian Thomas goes down, who's your number one passing game weapon right now, Tony? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe some week it'd be De'Ami Brown. Maybe some week it would be Gabe Davis or Parker Washington or Brenton Strange or Travis Etienne. I don't know. Though, you know, and like, you can have a high volume with a running back, but he's usually not your biggest weapon in the passing game because there's a limit to how many kind of different routes he's going to run and things like that.
Right. It's not like the team doesn't have 5 offensive linemen that could start if they needed them to right now.
Yeah, and a little bit of depth at tackle.
Right. So it's not severe. It's not a severe need that they need an offensive lineman. It's not like they couldn't line up and play defensive line if they needed to today with the people that they have on the team. They could field a team with what they have on the roster. They can do that at wide receiver too. I just wouldn't feel very confident. Right, but that's the response to why are they making a big deal out of if this guy gets hurt, then we're down. Well, name the position that we're talking about with this football team that's not the case. Right? Like, it's wide receiver should be part of the conversation in that way, the same way these other positions have been. Now, wide receiver in this draft isn't being talked about the way that these other positions have been talked about. There's more depth at defensive tackle. Right? In this draft, there are spots that we've talked about connected directly to the Jags where there's real depth in the draft class that they could wait and do something with that. Wide receiver, everyone we talk to is basically saying you better get it done in the first 2 or 3 rounds. You know, that's essentially
if you're going to get an impact guy.
And this is a team right now, the roster, you look at it, they need impact at wide receiver. So, yeah, I would expect on day 1 or 2 of the draft, they're going to draft a wide receiver somewhere. I'm not saying that you have to run Tet McMillan's name up because that's the priority for the football team, but it's probably more of a priority than that particular texter seems to feel like it is.
Yes, I think so too. Right, and again, this is more. And for Jamal would be comfortable with Tet McMillan at 5.
Yeah,
Jamal St. Cyr. Today's question is more about, okay, you get paid off to drop to 9.
Yeah.
You get an extra whatever. I don't know, a third this year, a third next year. I don't know what you're going to get paid by the Saints. But in that scenario, these guys are off the board. Which way do you go? Here's another one, though, on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. I think the Jaguars are somewhat optimistic about the receivers. Great number one in Thomas. I'll give you that. Speed on the opposite side in Brown. Okay. Once upon a time, we had speed in the person of Troy Williamson. I mean, speed alone doesn't do anything.
They're excited about him, so
right.
Okay.
I hope they're right.
Yeah.
But many regimes have been excited about guys who didn't do a whole lot elsewhere and thought this is going to be their big opportunity, and it didn't fulfill the promise.
Yeah.
A receiver in Gabe Davis, who's demonstrated he can play alongside an outstanding number one when he's not injured. Okay, and he was, look, and then that's fair to say, if Gabe Davis wasn't banged up last year, could he have been more effective? He didn't look very good last year. He didn't look at all like the player we had seen for 4 years.
No.
Playing with Josh Allen.
He had an opportunity to be exactly what they expected him to be. If he held on to the ball last year, he would have had 7 or 8 touchdowns.
True. And an ascending slot receiver in Washington, although that's not necessarily the kind of slot that they're going to run. And they've already talked about Brian Thomas running out. Maybe you're right, but let's see. The texter must not know how quickly the Jags can jag. Number one pick years ago got hurt during the first 15 minutes of camp. It happens, says Bush Drive Ridge. The point being, yes, but you could say that too. Well, we better draft the quarterback because we're one Trevor Lawrence injury away from Nick Mullins leading this team, right? And there are certain positions that you ride with your guy and you hope that he stays healthy.
Yeah, you can only protect yourself so much.
Only so much depth allowable.
You don't expect an injury at quarterback. You expect at some point you're going to have something go down on the offensive line, defensive line,
and
wide
if you
receiver.
get an injury at quarterback, you're just trying to hang on for a few weeks, oftentimes. But you start one QB. Everything's centered around him. If things go well, he's going to play every snap for you.
Yep.
And wide receiver, you often start 3. You often play 4 or 5 at a time. So the depth is more critical there. And obviously, it's critical. If Trevor Lawrence goes down, it's massively critical. And Nick Mullins has been a guy who's come in, slung it around, had some success as a hot guy off the bench at times, but nothing I don't think you want to count on for the long term. But anyway, appreciate all these opinions. Somebody pointed out Rams did try to trade 19 and 52 to move to 10 for Bowers last year. So I wouldn't say it's not a scheme fit, but I agree. I don't think the Jags are going tight end that high. His point being, if they had a guy like Bowers, he'd be a focal point of the offense. I don't recall the specifics of them trying to move up. I'm not saying they didn't, but I don't remember that talk as much about 19 and 52 being in play. But regardless, let's see, if Trevor's on his back or running for his life, a wide receiver wouldn't really matter. Improve both lines of scrimmage, especially the offensive line. Well, I think they did improve the offensive line. The question is to what degree. And I think the question we asked Jamal, it's one that really can't be answered properly right now. How do they feel about the incumbent starters?
Yeah.
If we knew that, we'd have a much better feel of what their plan is going to be, particularly early, because I feel like right now, Tony, I have more confidence in the starting 5 offensive line than I do in the starting 3 receivers, whichever 3 combo you want to put out there.
Agreed.
That doesn't mean that being able to upgrade an important position like left tackle, for instance, if they feel like they would be upgrading by selecting a Will Campbell or an Armand Membo, isn't a valid way to go about it. That's why we're having all these conversations. I think there are legitimately several valid ways to go about it. You want to help Trevor Lawrence, get him a weapon. You want to help Trevor Lawrence, protect him better. You want to help Trevor Lawrence, give him an ascendant running back talent like Ashton Genty, who you can turn around and hand it to, and he'll take it to the house, 6 or 8 times from distance. And what more could help your offense than that? You want to help Trevor Lawrence have a better pass rush to get teams off the field, to get the ball back to him. Everything helps Trevor Lawrence if that's a good player.
Yeah.
But if you're really focusing on the specific areas they have talked about, specifically improving the running game and offensive line, back itself, multiple, use tight end like a Tyler Warren. I don't think Colston Loveland would be on the Jaguars' radar based on the way people describe what type of tight end he's expected to be.
Right.
And I don't think based on everything, and I know Jamal was just kind of riffing, I couldn't see him being available at 36 anyway, even if he were to slide a little bit. Let's see. Speed alone doesn't do anything, but you demand Genty run the 40. Did I demand Genty do anything? I mean, man, get over yourself, all right? Genty had more yards after contact than any back had yards last year in Division I football. So he clearly has more than speed alone.
Yeah.
But I want to know what he runs. Fred Taylor wants to know what he runs. Is that terrible? All right, so you're picking on Fred here. You're not picking on me.
Yeah.
All right, Fred's the one who said, I'm curious what Ashton Genty runs. I'm also curious, Fred.
I would love to know what Ashton Genty ran. It has no impact on whether or not I'd be okay with him being the pick at 5.
Absolutely. I don't expect him to be a 4-3 guy, and a 4-3 guy alone wouldn't move him ahead of Genty if some other back's a 4-3 guy. People take what you say and just make it into something completely different than what you said. Genty isn't running because his time doesn't matter. Does it matter for anyone? Is it only not matter for Ashton Genty? Or I'm just curious, and look, I get it. He's ranked as one of the top players in the draft. Last year, Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't do anything, right, in the pre-draft process. Nothing. And he went top 5. Then, of course, he had a very disappointing rookie season. So who's to say? Maybe, Arizona, if they had seen Marvin Harrison go through the full workout, would have said, we like Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas Jr. better. Or,
Maybe.
you just don't know. So, you want to critique us for what we say. They critique us for what we actually say. No one's suggesting that or demanding that Ashton Genty run anything. So, anyway, I would be curious to know what his 40 time is, though. So, if you're not, that's totally fine with me.
But the top guys in this year's draft didn't run 40s. Carter didn't run a 40. Hunter didn't run a 40.
Right.
Like the top guys in the draft didn't run one for whatever reasons. They have their reasons.
Wouldn't you still like to know? Like, I would like
Still
to know.
wanna know.
If Ashton Genty's being compared to some of these all-time greats, how does he measure up just in terms of the strict
I would love
measurables?
to know what Hunter's 40 is, but we don't.
Right. And may probably never really know what his straight 40 time is. And that doesn't mean, speed alone doesn't make Travis Hunter. Would I draft Travis Hunter at 5? You're damn right I'd draft Travis Hunter at 5. I don't think it makes Ashton Genty any more risky pick because you don't know his 40 time.
No.
If you can't watch what he
It
did.
doesn't affect how I feel about him at all. It'd just be like, it'd be kind of cool to know.
Yeah. So, anyway. All right. I got a few more mocks, including one that came out, just a 2-round mock from Tony Pauline, who had a very intriguing strategy for the Jags. The second player, I don't think has much of any chance to be available at 36, but it was interesting nonetheless because these are two, I think, very similar players who you could argue play the exact same position. And Tony Pauline had the Jags taking both of them. Tony, who should be, I believe, joining us coming up in a couple of days in one of our last build-ups towards the NFL draft. And then a week from Wednesday, it's media mock draft time. That's when we'll demand everyone run a 40 by then. All right, Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark, you're listening to Jaguars Today. Keep it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Jaguars Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios at 1010XL.
This cannot be a team of common men because common men go nowhere. You have to be uncommon.
1010XL.
Right now, they're on their way to disrupt your life, make you uncomfortable, and rob you. Don't bother calling the police. They can't help. That's right. Summer heat and humidity are about to attack North Florida again. You know what to do. Call Mike Merritt. Mike Merritt's Heating and Air has a license to chill. When heat and humidity are attacking you, Mike Merritt provides a comfortable chill at a bargain price. Mike has been keeping North Florida comfortable for 30 years. Mike Merritt technicians are never paid commissions, meaning you'll never be pressured to buy something you don't need. And Mike Merritt knows cooling issues can arise anytime. They don't just happen during business hours. So Mike Merritt never charges overtime fees. When you need us, we're here for you. Remember, in the fight against heat and humidity, Mike Merritt has a license to chill. Visit merrittair.com. Florida license number CACO 50384.
If you suffer from constant burning, tingling, or numbness in your hands or feet, it could be a serious condition called neuropathy. I'm Dr. Nathan Riddle, DC with Riddle Wellness in Ponte Vedra. Neuropathy is treatable, and we have seen great results by using state-of-the-art, non-invasive therapies to target damaged nerves, reduce symptoms, and improve nerve function. Call 904-395-5598 to schedule your free consultation today and learn how you can live pain-free. Call 904-395-5598.
Hey, this is Coach Jason Gibson of your Jacksonville Sharks. I know the importance of a strong game plan, and that's exactly what I've got with Clay Solar Installation Partners. They did the install of the solar panels at my house, and I couldn't be happier. Lower energy bills, clean power, and a winning team that made the whole process easy. If you're looking to save money and go solar, trust the pros at Clay Solar. Call Karen at Clay Solar today and tell them that Coach Gibson sent you.
Jaguars Today.
It's a Dream Finders Homes Monday. 1010XL's draft previews are brought to you by Big Brothers Big Sisters of Northeast Florida. Be a big.
If Liam Cohen is looking to replicate what he had in Tampa Bay with a pair of talented receivers, the 6'4" Ted McMillan would be amazing to pair with Brian Thomas Jr. McMillan is a possession receiver with the size and ball skills to create big wins deep. He also has a knack for adjusting his routes and working back on throws, which would certainly make Trevor Lawrence's job a whole lot easier.
Say goodbye to glasses and contacts with customized vision treatments at Bowden Associates. Hey, Hicken here. Dr. Bowden and his expert team bring you the latest options, like Evo implantable Collamer lenses, refractive lens exchange, or traditional LASIK, tailored just for you. Imagine waking up to clear vision, no hassle, no fuss. Ready to see the difference? Call now or visit BowdenEye.com for a free screening. Bowden Eye & Associates, keeping the First Coast focused.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold and silver and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at almost $3,000 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more value at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Share a cup of coffee and range balls with Dan, Jeff, and PGA pros. Tour news, tips, and inside info.
Sounds like a lot of club for this young man.
Brunch with the tour.
Brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation. 8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
Pizza to Tea here, and Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here it's bigger game days and bolder fight nights. I mean, where else can you find the scratch kitchen that comes through in the clutch every day, from lunch to late night? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar. Come on, somebody.
Have you got concrete or asphalt rubble piling up? Arcosa Crushed Concrete will pay you for it and recycle it. They're just minutes from Everbank Stadium on Talleyrand. Call Arcosa Crushed Concrete and get paid for what you don't need. ArcosaCrushedConcrete.com.
For the greenest, luscious lawn on the block, choose the local legends, Roundtree Sod. Don't just settle for ordinary. Let Roundtree Sod deliver you a picture-perfect lawn. To get a free estimate, call 7414-SOD. 7414-SOD.
Summer in Jacksonville is coming in hot. Lauren Brooks here. Beat the heat with Turbo Tint. Their window tint blocks up to 99% of harmful UV rays and keeps your ride cool and comfortable. Book today at turbotint.com.
You've got a lot on your plate. The last thing you need is car trouble. At Maxie's Mechanics, we help you keep your cars, trucks, and SUVs running safely. Visit MaxieAutoRepair.com today for honest service, reliable repairs, and peace of mind for you and your family.
Florida heat is no joke. Is your air conditioner ready for it? At Duck Duck Air Conditioning, we've got a crazy offer just for you. We're giving away free AC inspections to our wonderful customers who now call and schedule. One of our expert techs will come look at your AC unit and make recommendations to ensure it's running at peak performance. But you must act today. A deal this good won't last forever. Call 904-862-6769. Duck Duck Air Conditioning. DuckDuckAC.com. Any required repairs are not included in the inspection.
1010XL is presented by Farrah & Farrah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Jaguars Today on 1010XL.
Oh, I forgot to mention, Tone, that obviously I didn't win my bet on DeChambeau winning the Masters, but I did feel last week, and check the tape on this one, root for Scotty. Bet on DeChambeau, but I just had a hunch that Rory was finally going to break through. Mm-hmm. And so I offset myself. I had put a total of $25 big on the Masters, right, with a chance to Koepka lost my $5 there quickly, but had a chance to turn DeChambeau into a nice big profit. And Briefly, he went ahead, and then so yesterday I put a counter bet on Rory to win straight up with just enough to basically cover my $25 investment and pocket $10 at the end of the day. So I did make money on it, but the worst outcome for me would have been Justin Rose winning in a playoff at that point. I was kind of rooting for the meltdown, to be honest with you, but didn't quite get it.
Yeah, they were showing some of the stats after Rory won it yesterday, and we've now had 2 men that have won the Grand Slam since we walked on the moon. Right?
Wow.
Like, it's only Tiger and Rory.
The career Grand
that
Slam,
have completed the career Grand Slam since we sent a man to the moon.
That is crazy. We're talking about it with in Crosstalk with Dan and Jeff. Of course, Bobby Jones back in the day, the Grand Slam was the British and U.S. Opens and amateurs. And he was one of the few guys to play in all of them back then. But when he won all 4 in the same year, they dubbed it the Grand Slam. And that's where that came from Bobby Jones. Anyway, pretty exciting weekend of golf. On the Jaguar front, mentioned Tony Pauline, one of our favorite guys. Dylan tells me we are good. He will join us this coming up Wednesday for maybe his final appearance on the program. At least that's what we're efforting about exactly 2 days from now at this time in the second hour. But Pauline did a 2-round mock, and he had the Jags taking Mason Graham. And he is talking. He loves Mason Graham, right?
Yeah.
He thinks it's certainly worthwhile if the Jags go that direction. But Tony, I kind of, and not jokingly, but I kind of outside the box thinking, a guy that, if you love Mason Graham, how much difference is there between Mason Graham and Walter Nolan? Maybe Walter Nolan a little less effective against the run, maybe a little bit better pass rusher, but they're both primarily considered 3-technique defensive tackles, although we've been told that Mason Graham can play anywhere you want on the defensive line. It's certainly on the interior, could play either way. But Pauline had Nolan lasting all the way to pick 36, and the Jaguars doubling down on defensive tackle. Not only doubling down on defensive tackle, but doubling down on similar types of defensive tackle. And I guess in that scenario, Mason Graham's more of your nose tackle. In terms of pass rush upside from your interior, you would boost it by 1,000-fold. But how do you feel about that use of resources, taking 2 from the same, not necessarily position, but position group at least for the Jacksonville Jaguars that early?
I'd be all right with it.
Would you?
Especially along the defensive line. I'd like it if the 2 players profiled a little bit more differently.
Like Graham and his teammate Kenneth Grant?
That kind of thing. And, a couple weeks ago we did the 5 prospects who kind of have red lights for me. And Nolan I had at 5 on that list. And it's that he popped this year, right? And athletically, he's going to show up, and everyone who has a look at him is going to be like, yeah. And that seems to be the reaction everyone's having in this offseason to Nolan and the workouts, the pro day, the combine, all these different things. My questions are about Nolan are, how much does he love football, right? Because why did it take this long for it to snap together for him, right? It's that kind of thing does have me a little thrown off on Walter Nolan.
Sure.
Compared to Mason Graham, I have no questions about how much he loves it, right? He is all about that defensive tackle life, right? Whatever is going to be asked him to do that kind of thing. He's all about it. Nolan, I have some questions about whether or not he's committed in that same kind of way about the football side of things. I'm not saying that he's not. I haven't had an opportunity to talk to him. I don't know. This is all from an outside perspective. I may be way, 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 way off on how I feel about Walter Nolan, but I do feel that way about it for whatever reason. But I don't have a big issue with if they were going to draft 2 defensive tackles, it wouldn't bother me all that much.
Is there if you could conceive of a first 3 picks from the same school, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, Josiah Stewart?
That'd be fun.
Would you be okay with that, right?
I would, yeah.
At 70, right? You get your 2, you get your Stroud and Henderson. Granted, they'd have to, that's the hope that they would be.
You got your 3,
your modern version of that.
Yeah.
And you'd get your edge rusher, your 3rd edge rusher coming in as well. And all those guys from the same front 7 would be pretty fascinating. But yeah, look, again, no idea who. I was surprised that Walter Nolan fell that far in Tony's mock. But a couple of things he said in here included that he said from what he's hearing, New England's telling people that they love Campbell, that's going to be their guy. That there is some internal push for Membo, but overall not enough to overtake Will Campbell, who they see as a left tackle and the best left tackle in the draft.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then you could very clearly see it going Ward, Hunter, Carter, Campbell, and then maybe it is Graham, and then, it's going to be the chalkiest first 5 picks, and I bet there'll be a lot of people
then Genty, and then
predicting,
the craziness
right,
begins.
Genty, and then the Jets, Membo, I think, and then Carolina, maybe Jalen Walker, and then the Saints, Shedeur Sanders. That's as good a bet right now as a. Can you play a 9-pick parlay, Dylan? In
whatever you want.
Your various gambling outfits like that you do. Look into that for me, because I think that would be a popular one. What would the Bears do at 10? In that scenario? I guess we could ask Taylor Dahl about that. Is Taylor making the pick for the Bears in our media mock draft?
Yes, she is.
She's available that day?
Confirmed this morning.
All right, good to know on that front. All right, let's take a final time out here, come back, and let's settle in on today's question of the day, give you the 10-10 take on who we would like to see the Jags take under a scenario where they move back with the Saints and the board goes chalky as can be. It means the usual suspects are gone, including the top 2 offensive linemen, Campbell and Membo. Who would you feel best about the Jags taking at 9 in that scenario, at least among the options that we gave you? Mike Dempsey, Tony Smith, Dylan Denmark here with you. This is Jaguars Today. Keep it right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Hey, folks, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. You know what? Moving around all weekend long, you're on the go. Dandy is a great convenience for you. You swing into an area gate station, and they're going to have a wide selection ready to go. Maybe you're going to the kids' sporting event on the weekend. Maybe you're headed to the beach. You know what? Bring a cooler to gate, load up, get a bag of ice, and put in a wide variety of Dandy offerings, sandwiches and subs. I can't even count how many different kinds they have, but they'll have something fresh for you and delicious. It'll fit everybody's taste. Made with the highest quality ingredients, phenomenal variety. You want breakfast items? They got that. You want quick pick-me-ups on the go? They've got that. And yes, the full line of sandwiches and subs. I'm partial to that tuna salad. You go find your favorite, but it may take you a while. Dandy's offerings usually top about 30 in area gate stations. So swing in, fill up the tank, and fill up your belly with some of that fuel. When you're in Duval and hungry, do what I do. Go out and make yours a Dandy. Do it today.
Jaguars
Today.
From the Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors Studios of 1010XL. 1010XL is multimedia. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can't buy this kind of media exposure. 1010XL. Maximum media exposure.
Hello, I'm attorney Malcolm Anthony. Being charged with domestic violence can turn your life upside down. If you're in trouble, call me, Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
Life is just so busy this time of year. Between work, the kids' games, family vacations, I need a yard hero to free up my weekends.
You mean somebody who does mowing and trimming?
Yeah.
How about mosquito control?
Yeah.
What about irrigation and pet waste removal?
You do that too? You're my lawn hero.
Find your lawn hero at heroeslawncare.com. Heroes Lawn Care, because every lawn needs a hero.
So, you finally have some time to yourself. Even if it is just the car ride home, it's you time. And look at you. Do not disturb set before you even got in the car? Impressive. You've earned this moment to just chill and drive. This break is brought to you by Target Zero and the Florida Department of Transportation.
Dreamfinders Homes, Monday.
On Jaguars Today.
Florida Home AC, the official AC partner of the Jaguars. Make them your AC partner with honest cost estimates before they start the work with no hidden fees. Call 777-4300 for Florida Home AC.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, Underwoods has sold fine quality diamonds for a long time. Why is that important?
Frank, if you drew a line with the poorest diamonds with the lowest prices to the left and the highest quality to the right, our diamonds are at the far right end. Now, once we know the weight the grading factors of cut, color, and clarity have to be considered. And the one that's talked about the least, but it's the most important to us, is the diamond's cut grade, because it has a huge implication on both the price and the beauty, and thus the value. I've bought diamonds for Underwoods for over 30 years, so I know what's out there, and the cut grade's just not important to most diamond sellers. That's really been the Underwood difference, because beautifully cut diamonds result in the most important thing they can do. They bring a joy of owning and wearing a diamond, not just today, but tomorrow and into the future. That's why it's important to us.
And it should be to you too, because nothing brings more joy than a diamond from Underwoods in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra since 1928.
Hacker here, and guess what my scale reads? 195 pounds. I'm shocked seeing that number, but it's there every month. The weight is staying off after dropping 122 pounds. Absolutely life-changing. Awaken180weightloss.com.
Get closer to nature.
Trying to get close to these bucks out here.
Jeff Lageman, Captain Kevin Faber, and Captain Kirk Walls. The Nimnicht Outdoor Show, presented by Duck Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic and Air Conditioning. Saturday morning, 7 to 10 on 1010XL.
At Performance Painting, we've spent decades protecting commercial properties with durable, long-lasting coatings. And we can bring the same expertise when painting the exterior of your home. With industry-leading materials and a proven process, we extend the life of your home, reducing maintenance costs and preserving its value. Now, for a limited time, save $500 when you hire us to paint your home's exterior. Just mention 1010XL. Go to performancepainting.com to schedule a friendly estimate. Performance Painting. Repair, protect, preserve.
Performance Painting.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10. Charles.
6. Oh, so close. Betty for the steal.
What about the bank that helps you reach your financial goals? Synovus.
Let's see, judges. Yes, looks like we have a winner.
That's a number?
Sorry, Charlie. Remember, a solid financial future doesn't happen by chance. Talk with Synovus about your potential today.
Brought to you by Synovus Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. The number was 4.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey, and I only like to recommend the best, which is why I'm proud to say that I chose Pella Windows and Doors for my own home. And now's a great time to upgrade your home with 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years of interest-free payments on the best windows and doors in the business. Don't wait. Schedule a free consultation at PellaJacks.com or visit their showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. For quality you can trust and savings you can't miss, that's Pella Windows and Doors.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you become more active, reach your weight loss goals, and find your inner strength. Membership at the Y includes state-of-the-art facilities, a huge variety of fitness classes, and programs for all ages. It's easy to join the Y since it's affordable for all incomes. The Y is a great place to make connections and experience something new. Visit the YMCA near you or online at fcymca.org.
This is Greg Huntington, a.k.a. The Mangler. I'm on the winning team at Waste Management. WM is the largest sustainability company in North America. If your business needs sustainable environmental services for waste removal and recycling collection, then you can count on the industry leader of WM to deliver results. Your services will be completed in a timely, safe, and eco-friendly manner. Go to WM.com/Duval. That's WM.com/Duval and get signed up today. If anyone can talk trash, it's the Mangler.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since 1987.
Tony, I did not realize this until just now. 160 years to the day, John Wilkes Booth pulled the trigger on Old Honest Abe. So there you go. One of the most important historic events in this country's history.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But anyway, 160 years ago today. Wasn't that long ago that we asked you today's question of the day earlier this morning. This has been one of the closer polls. I think there's a clear leader, but anytime you do a 4-name poll and everyone's pulling at least 20%, that's about as good as you're going to get in one of these. And that's where we're at today. If the Jaguars traded back to pick 9, and we use that specifically because the story with the Saints coming out, Derek Carr, shoulder injury that may require him to miss the entire season. So it wasn't like he was the long-term answer. It wasn't like the Saints wouldn't have been interested in adding a quarterback anyway, but this really crystallizes the importance of getting that guy in there. So if the Saints were to move up for presumably Shedeur Sanders, and the two quarterbacks were gone along with Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Ashton Genty, and what is generally considered to be the top two offensive tackles, Campbell and Membo, all off the board, what would you like to see the Jags do with the 9th pick? Why don't we answer with today's 10-10 take?
10-10 take.
Now, Mike Dempsey's 10-10 take is serviced by Ideal Conditions Heating and Air, your go-to local HVAC company, veteran owned and operated.
Really, to me, fascinating numbers here. Jalen Walker's pulling a little over a third of the vote. He's the clear leader.
Mm-hmm.
And it's flip-flop between the others. Over 250 votes on this. Kelvin Banks and Ted McMillan getting exactly 22.7% of the vote, 20.7% going with Tyler Warren. Look, I'm open to all these guys in a trade back scenario when you're adding some value. I don't want to see any of these guys go with the 5th pick. I guess if they were to take one with the 5th pick, I'd feel most comfortable with Jalen Walker. So why wouldn't I feel most comfortable with him with pick number 9? I do think they have a need, a stated need, to add more edge rush. Although I do think as a third edge rusher that you can find that in round 3 this year if you're not looking for a full-time player. The feeling is Jalen Walker can be a full-time player because he can play stand-up linebacker for you for a couple of downs. I think the best use, just in terms of the biggest hole, I agree with Jamal. Ted McMillan walks into a clear-cut starting job here.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Walker, now, granted, you have to compete, but the presumption would be if you take him at 5, he's going to win that competition. What is Jalen Walker doing if he comes in on day 1? Is he competing with Devin Lloyd? Is that what he's doing? Or is he competing to join Devin Lloyd and Foye in base defense packages? I think it's more that.
I think it's more that. And he would be kind of the de facto third edge, I would guess. Like that kind of thing. I'm not sure what exactly they would have a clear plan for. This is what we're going to be using Jalen Walker to do. And I do think it would very much resemble what people have thought Devin Lloyd's plan should be for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that would be the plan with Walker from the moment he walks in, as opposed to what it's felt like with Lloyd, where they're like, well, now he's the middle linebacker and we're asking him to do these things. But they've learned, if you've learned nothing else about him, it's we can't play him in coverage, right? Like, we have to get him out of coverage as much as we possibly can. And if we are going to play coverage with him, it better be man and he's just chasing his guy the whole time he's on the field, right? We can't play zone with Devin Lloyd playing linebacker. He'll lose his assignment. He will. To this point in his career, that's been the weakest part of his game. So I do think they would have a very clear plan on what to do with Walker. My vote would be Walker. In this, I'd probably have McMillan second. I am curious, with Kelvin Banks there in our poll this morning, at what point in the draft are teams going to start thinking about Josh Simmons?
Well, Prisco, do you see Prisco's note this weekend? That I'm paraphrasing it here. I'll try to look it up real quick.
He's the best offensive lineman in the draft.
Basically, the Patriots, if there were no medical concerns, Patriots should take him at 4, is what he was saying. Josh Simmons, the tackle out of Ohio State, who, what did he have? Was it a patellar tendon?
Patellar tendon
injury, which is a tricky one to be sure, but thinks he'll, if he proves he can overcome that. And that's the question. How much risk are you willing to take on with a top 5 pick? Right, which is sometimes the luxury if you're one of those teams that's a perennial playoff team and you're picking at 25 and you don't necessarily have a pressing need right away and you can afford to wait on a guy. We're already a good team. If this guy takes a half a year to a year to really realize his potential and get him to where we want him to be health-wise, we can afford to wait that long because the payoff in the end, can the Jags afford to wait for a guy like that? That is a fascinating
It's hard to know. Like Matt Miller, I'm looking at his list right now. He had him at 29, right, on his rankings list. And the write-up on him is interesting. When I began evaluating players, an NFL offensive line coach told me to look at recovery agility for offensive tackles. Their ability to regain leverage and position after being beaten is key. Simmons has that. Moving and sliding with quick feet. The way he gets out in space in the run game is the best in the class, too. He's electric on the move, arrives at the defender with powerful hands. Unfortunately, all the injury stuff comes in. But he said that he would be in the conversation for OT1. Right.
It would be in the conversation. But the guy he has this OT1 is Calvin Banks Jr.
Yes.
Out of Texas. Ahead of Campbell, ahead of Membo. Says Banks was my top-ranked tackle before the season. He allowed only 4 pressures and 1 sack as a junior, which came in a rough Week 8 outing against Georgia. And that's on 898 snaps, despite battling an ankle injury late in the year. His game is clean. It's his lateral agility and quick feet that scouts love, believe will help him make up for lack of ideal height. I've never seen his length be an issue. An AFC scouting director said he moves too well. Now, I will say this. I would right now vote for Walker, but if I felt like the Jags had Banks ranked like comparable to what Miller does, I would change that to Banks. Because I felt like if I'm sitting there at 5, I could absolutely see them going offensive line. Maybe they like Banks as much as some of these other offensive linemen. There may be a few teams out there that have Banks ranked as their number 1 offensive lineman on the board. We just don't know.
And I've heard Membo being talked about, like, he's going to land at right tackle. Right? Like, I've heard him talked about that way, that eventually that's where he's going to land in the National Football League. I don't know how much that's going to come into play. And when we talk about some of the craziness, Kelvin Banks, if they do look at him, the comp that he's got in there is Rashawn Slater. If they do look at him and say, yeah, he's a left tackle and he's going to be a great one for a decade, then no, I wouldn't be surprised if teams looked at those two and said, yeah, that's our preference is Banks.
By the way, what's the issue with his height? He's 6'5". Or at least he's listed at 6. So let's say he's 6'4".
Yeah, I don't know.
Who cares how tall you are?
Yeah.
I mean, within reason, right? You know, no 5'3" offensive
Yeah, he's
line,
not
right?
5'5".
But if you're 6'4" or 6'6", it's your reach. I mean, your height doesn't block anybody.
No.
Right? And so if you can, that's why arm length is such an issue for some of these guys. So I would probably move, if I felt like the Jags had that same kind of analysis on him, that they loved him as well, and they weren't settling for the third best because they felt it was such a pressing position of need, which they may not feel, by the way, then that would be more intriguing for me right there. But as I said, tied with Membo. But yeah, I saw that. I'm glad you brought that up with Prisco with the Josh Simmons thing.
Yeah.
The Jags have emphasized we want guys who can help us right away, right now, win now. I think if Simmons is healthy, he's one of those guys. But if he's not, if you're not sure when he's going to be the full-blown Josh Simmons, is that enough of a reason for this team to pass on him? You can make the argument that this is a perfect team to go get him because you don't have to have him start day one if you want to slow play him and make sure he's 100% beyond the injury. And maybe a more likely scenario is if the Jags were to trade back tonight. We put Kelvin Banks Jr. in here. We could have put next best offensive lineman in here, and however, and that would be in the eyes of the Jags. But very, very close in this. And I'll be honest with you, if they move back, and I'm not going to love the Tyler Warren pick, but I'll understand it. But I'd be pretty content with just about any of those guys at that point in time.
Yeah.
If not having to spend the 5th pick. In other words, getting whatever else. Another third rounder. Do the Saints have a third rounder this year?
The Saints do.
Do they? Okay. I wasn't sure if
two.
They have 2 third rounders.
Yeah, they
this
got
year.
71 and 93. I just happen to have it pulled up. I was looking at the trade chart, right?
Yeah, you have that up?
9 to 5, yeah. And it's around 350 points is what it's at on that chart. The Saints' second-round pick is 500 points. So the Jags would have to give back 150. Looking at that, they'd have to give the second, third-round pick back to the Saints to get their second-round pick.
So basically, you give up 5 and 88 for 9 and 40-something?
40, yeah.
40, okay.
Right at 40. Or the Saints could give up 71 and probably the first fourth-round pick in that scenario.
I'd be good with probably either.
Yeah, something
or
like that.
Instead of the first fourth-round pick, you do 71 and the third the following year, which kind of downgrades to a current fourth. Let me just run through Matt Miller's rankings here, since we mentioned we touch on a few of these. And this is one man's opinion, but this is final big board. 602 players evaluated. Abdul Carter, number 1. Travis Hunter, number 2. Genty's 3rd. Compares him to Alvin Kamara. Graham is 4th. Jalen Walker's 5th. Colston Loveland, the Michigan tight end, 6th. Will Johnson at 7. Kelvin Banks Jr., as we mentioned, is 8. Tyler Warren, Armand Membo, Jahdae Barron, who got mentioned earlier today, Will Campbell, Luther Burden, Cam Ward, the first quarterback at 14, and then Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama at 15. So one day closer. We're thinking tomorrow. I'll put it out today. I'll try to remember to put it out today, unlike last week. But Tuesday top 5, taking out what we consider to be, would you agree, the core 4 Jaguars right now are Trevor Lawrence, Brian Thomas, and the 2 edge rushers?
Yeah.
Okay, take those guys out. Who are the 5 most important players on the Jaguar roster for 2025? We'll probably do that for tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. And I think that'll just about put a bow on it for us today. And thanks again to Jamal St. here from Channel 4 for weighing in. And it's time to pass the baton on to Helmets and Heels.
Now, the 2-minute drill. Serviced by Cool Cats Heating and Cooling. Locally owned and operated. We're your neighbors. CoolCatsJacks.com.
The coolest cats in town.
LB, how you feeling in here with that air blowing with those that sleeveless get up? You feeling good?
I just shut off, so now I'm wonderful. Thanks.
Okay, all right, good. I'm like that guy at this stage of my life, like minute to minute. It's like, why is it so cold in here? Or why is it extremely warm at the same temperature? So that's probably a me issue more than
I think
anything.
it just happens with age.
It might be. Yeah, a lot of things do. I'm here to tell you.
I'm well aware.
Yeah, well, I'm more aware than you. So what do you have coming up on the program today?
Yeah, we'll certainly talk a ton about yesterday's 4th round of the Masters.
Sure.
That was so much fun to watch, at least I thought. And then I went down to Gainesville on Saturday, so I've got some updates when it comes to the orange and blue game. And we'll also have Cole Thompson joining us at 1:20. He's from SEC Unfiltered, and that whole Nico Iamaleava story that went down over the weekend. Really, Jimmy Himes broke the news on 1010XL and on Friday afternoon. And so it's been a wild story to watch.
Man, some were of the opinion that he had all the leverage, I was told, but that lasted 60 minutes or less. I'm 100% with Tennessee, by the way. Like,
of course,
buddy,
that's what I said on Friday.
Look at your numbers in the playoff, and you want to try to pull this now at this time. And I thought they were really super nice. Great young man. We wish him the best. Teammates love him, but not going to work out.
If I'm a head coach of a Power 4 school, even if I need a quarterback, I'm not taking him. I don't want Nico and his family drama.
I don't know. They're all mercenaries. You know what I mean? It's some NIL collective. It ain't coming out of your pocket, and it may be drama, but is he a better quarterback than what you have, and it's not your dime? I
don't know that I would be guaranteed he's going to play the whole season. What if he doesn't like how things go?
That's true.
He clearly runs away, even though he's taken every rep as QB1 for Tennessee this spring.
That is absolutely fair. I think that's within the realm of possibility. I think there are enough mercenaries out there that someone will take him. Whether they'll take him at a higher price point that he was going to make $2.5 million.
Right, which it's not an NIL anymore when schools are paying these guys, right, through the collectives. It was originally supposed to be what you and I would buy a jersey for.
Right,
That's
name, image, and likeness. Right,
now
it's just, here's the money.
Exactly. It's kind of sad that $2.5 million isn't good enough for 19 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
Look, we say that, but if we were in the position, we thought we had the leverage to get more money. We could sit here and go, who wouldn't play professional sports for $1 million? Well, when the guy next to you on the bench is making 50,
right?
Right,
but you have to know your value. And I think in this situation, is he now walking away from all the money that Tennessee had promised, and now he's going to play for $100,000? If I said that 10 years ago, that'd still be crazy.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you that he overplayed his hand, at least with Tennessee. But if he ends up getting 2.6 somewhere,
right. What if he gets way less?
What if he does? We don't know, right? And that was the chance he was willing to take, and you've got to trust your representation, and you got to choose wisely when deciding who that representation is going to be.
Yeah, it's just so crazy. We had this situation with Jaden Rashada, and now it feels like it's happening once again in a different light, though.
All right. Well, it does feel like that a little bit, but this won't be the last of this, by the way.
No, but I'm hoping for the student athlete's sake that you understand Nico is in a great system at Tennessee. Like, Josh Heupel is a great coach. I hope that for future student athletes, they understand you're getting a really good education. You're in a great system. You're making over $2 million. Like, smile, be happy, and go to practice.
Lauren said student athlete. That's cute.
They are
so
technically
cute.
still student athletes. Some of them are getting degrees.
Some of them are. Some of them are.
Only technically.
Only technically is true.
Yeah.
The backup quarterback at Florida, this is his fourth school, Harrison Bailey. He went to Tennessee, UNLV, Louisville, now Florida.
Good for him. Seeing the whole
Right.
country.
I mean, good for him, right? I mean, so.
It's a wild, wild world out there.
It really is. All right. We're all just jealous that we weren't good enough to get millions of dollars to do it.
Got that right.
All right. Have a good show.
Are you sure I'm not making millions of
You
dollars
may
to do
be.
this thing to hear?
I don't know. I don't want to know what it's for. So, you've now opened that up. Everyone's thinking, what is Lauren making millions of dollars for?
I said here at 1010.
Okay. Still. I think you're worth millions of dollars
Thank
for
you,
your
Mike
contributions to
Dempsey. Thank you.
1010. All right. Have a good day. Let's
Thank
shut
you,
this
too.
down. Should have shut it down 3 minutes ago. All right. That'll do it for Tony, myself, and Dylan. Denmark today. Thanks again to Jamal St. Tomorrow, Friday, or the Tuesday top five. Friday, top five. And then
Done with the week already.
Mock draft Wednesday, our last 7-round mock, right?
Yeah. We'll see what we want to do next week.
Yeah,
we can move it around however we want
Well,
to.
because we got media mock draft. We may do one, throw it out there, maybe like on draft day, like a final
something
one. But I may do two versions this week. I might go trade crazy and play it straight in both.
Okay.
I think it's more likely the Jags will end up playing it straight. Yeah. All right, that does it for us. Thanks again for tuning in. Another fresh week of Jaguar football to look forward to. We'll be back tomorrow from 10 to noon here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.